3 months ago, my own family tried to murder me. Not with weapons. They let Lake Whispering do their dirty work for them. I can still taste that murky water filling my lungs, thick, cold, suffocating. Feel my chest burning as I clawed toward the surface, my body screaming for air I couldn't reach. My cousin Nicholas had shoved me off that dock during our family reunion, and not a single person dove in to save me. They all just stood there watching, some even pulling out their phones like I was entertainment. She can't swim. I heard my sister Praise shout, but her feet stayed planted on that wood. Nobody moved. My own mother, Dorothy, crossed her arms, looked down at me drowning, and said something that will echo in my skull forever. Maybe this will teach her some humility. 8 minutes underwater. I died twice in that hospital. When I opened my eyes, I told them to block every number. Tell them I'm dead. Because the woman they tried to drown? She did die in that lake. The woman who crawled out is someone they should have feared from the beginning. If you're just tuning into this channel, please subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to share with your friends and family, and tell us where you are watching from in the comments section. I was 14 when I buried my father. Samuel Moses died of a heart attack on his postal route, collapsed right there on Mrs. Henderson's porch with a stack of catalogs in his hands. He taught me 2 things, work with dignity, and family comes first. At his funeral, I cried until my throat was raw. My mother Dorothy stood dry-eyed beside the casket, lips moving in silent calculation. Later, I'd understand she wasn't grieving, she was doing math, figuring out how to survive without his paycheck. The answer, it turned out, was me. At 18, while Miracle partied his way through community college and Praise dated anyone with a car, I worked doubles. Call center during the day, taking abuse from customers who hated their cable bills. Waitressing at night, smiling through harassment for tips I'd wire home every Friday. Dorothy never said thank you. She'd just text me the next emergency, the gas bill, Miracle's textbooks, Praise's car insurance. I told myself this was what family did. This was love. By 26, I'd saved $15,000. I quit both jobs and launched my marketing firm from a studio apartment that smelled like mildew and ambition. My first clients were small, a local bakery, a plumber who needed a website, but I had a gift for digital campaigns. I understood how to make people care, how to turn scrolling into buying. Within 3 years, I had 20 employees and contracts with national brands. By 32, I was making $300,000 a year. That's when my family really noticed. Dorothy called first. The roof was leaking, $8,000 for repairs. Then Miracle needed a down payment on a car, $12,000. Praise's son Peter needed private school tuition because public school wasn't good enough, $18,000 a year. Every month, a new crisis. Every crisis, my credit card. Over 8 years, I gave them over $400,000. No contracts. No repayment plans. No gratitude. Just blood. I kept a spreadsheet. Some sick part of me thought if I tracked it all, it would mean something. That one day they'd see the numbers and understand what I'd sacrificed. Instead, the requests got bigger. The tone got more demanding. And I kept saying yes, because saying no to family felt like betraying my father's ghost. I should have known better. I should have seen what they were becoming, what I was letting them make me. But you don't see the drowning coming when you're already underwater. The call came at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was dreaming about my father, something about the post office, when my phone lit up the darkness. Rosemary. Miracle's wife. My stomach dropped before I even answered. Amara, thank God. Her voice was frantic, theatrical. We're going to lose the house. The bank sent the final notice. We need $15,000 by Monday or we're on the street. I sat up, exhaustion pressing against my skull. My laptop was still on my nightstand. I'd been working until midnight on a campaign pitch. I opened it, pulled up my personal spreadsheet. The numbers glowed accusingly in the dark. Rose, I can't. I've given Miracle more than 60,000. Her voice went sharp. I know. You keep reminding us. You think we don't know how much you've helped? But this is different. This is our home. Our kids' home. I said I can't. You're going to let us be homeless? She was screaming now. You make 6 figures and you're going to watch your brother's family sleep in a car? What kind of person are you? The kind who's tired. The kind who can't breathe under the weight of everyone else's emergencies. The kind who's been treading water for 8 years while everyone else lounges on the boat. I said no, Rosemary. I'm done. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I'd never said no before. Not once. The word felt foreign, dangerous. Like I'd just detonated something I couldn't take back. 20 minutes later, Dorothy called. Blood is supposed to take care of blood, Amara. Your father would be ashamed of you right now. My father. The man who died working himself to exhaustion for a family that never appreciated it. She was using his memory as a weapon, and the worst part was, it still cut. I can't keep doing this, Mama. Can't or won't. Click. She hung up on me. Then Miracle called, voice ragged with rage. You selfish bitch. We are family. You don't turn your back on family. I've given you $60,000. And we needed it. You think we asked for fun? You think we're out here buying yachts? He was screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. You've changed. Money changed you. You're not the Amara I grew up with. No, I wasn't. The Amara he grew up with was a doormat. An ATM with a pulse. My phone buzzed relentlessly after that. The family group chat, the one I'd muted months ago, was exploding. I scrolled through the messages, each one a fresh knife. Praise, wow. Guess we know where we stand. Aunt Sandra always knew she thought she was better than us. Nicholas, you've changed. Money changed you. They couldn't see it. Couldn't see that I'd been drowning in their demands for years, that every yes had pulled me deeper. To them, I wasn't struggling, I was malfunctioning. The machine that dispensed cash had broken down, and they were furious about it. I turned off my phone and stared at the ceiling until dawn broke. I didn't know it then, but that no had signed my death warrant. 6 weeks of silence. Then Dorothy called with an invitation wrapped in guilt. The family reunion is at Lake Whispering next weekend. You need to be there, Amara. Family needs to work through things together. I should have said no. Should have recognized the trap. But some desperate, stupid part of me still believed we could fix this. That if I showed up, if I explained myself face to face, they'd understand. So I packed a bag, drove 3 hours north, and walked straight into my own execution. The lake house sat at the edge of dark water, surrounded by towering pines that blocked out the afternoon sun. Storm clouds gathered on the horizon, turning the sky the color of old bruises. 20 family members had already arrived, aunts, uncles, cousins I barely knew. When I pulled up, conversations stopped. Heads turned. No one smiled. Aunt Sandra's voice carried across the lawn. Well, look who decided to grace us with her presence. Laughter rippled through the crowd. My chest tightened. Dorothy appeared on the porch, arms crossed, face unreadable. She descended the steps slowly, deliberately, like a judge approaching the bench. When she reached me, she didn't hug me. Didn't even touch me. She turned to face the extended family gathered on the lawn and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "This is my daughter Amara. The one who thinks money is more important than family." More laughter. Sharper this time. My face burned. I wanted to defend myself, to scream that I'd given them everything, but the words stuck in my throat. Dorothy walked past me without another word, leaving me standing alone with my suitcase like an uninvited guest. The afternoon crawled by in hostile silence. I sat on the porch steps while everyone else gathered in clusters, whispering. Miracle and Nicholas were drinking on the far end of the deck, their eyes finding me every few minutes. Nicholas would lean in, say something to Miracle. They'd both laugh. The sound made my skin crawl. Praise sat with Rosemary near the grill, scrolling through her phone, occasionally glancing up to stare at me with open contempt. No one spoke to me. No one offered food. I was a ghost at my own family reunion. By evening, the storm had moved closer. The air felt heavy, electric. I couldn't breathe inside that house anymore, surrounded by people who hated me. I walked down to the dock, desperate for space, for air, for anything other than their eyes on my back. The lake stretched out before me, black and still. The dock creaked under my feet. I stood at the edge, staring at the water, trying to remember why I'd come here. What reconciliation looked like when everyone had already decided you were the villain. Behind me, footsteps. Heavy. Deliberate. We need to talk. Nicholas's voice. I turned. He was blocking my path back to shore, Miracle beside him. Both of them reeked of beer and something darker, intent. About what? My voice came out smaller than I wanted. Miracle stepped closer. About you forgetting who you are. The dock swayed slightly beneath us. The water lapped at the posts below, hungry and patient. Storm clouds had swallowed the last of the daylight. The house behind them glowed with warm light and laughter, but it felt miles away. I was alone on this dock with two men who hated me, and the dark water waited below. I know exactly who I am, I said. Nicholas smiled. It wasn't kind. No, you don't. But you're about to remember. Miracle's hand clamped around my arm like a vice. You think you're too good for us now? Think you can just cut us off? His breath was hot against my face, reeking of beer and rage. I tried to pull away. Let go of me. You need to remember who you are. He shoved me hard. I stumbled backward, my heel catching on the weathered wood. Nicholas lunged forward, his hands hitting my shoulders with brutal force. Then I was falling. The water swallowed me whole. Cold, shockingly, brutally cold, closed over my head. I kicked instinctively, broke the surface gasping, disoriented. The dock loomed above me, impossibly high. Miracle and Nicholas stood silhouetted against the darkening sky, watching. Help! I screamed. I can't swim. Water filled my mouth mid-scream. I choked, went under, clawed my way back up. My arms flailed uselessly, my legs kicking in panic but finding no purchase, no rhythm. I'd been terrified of water since I was 6, a pool accident, a near drowning my father had saved me from. He wasn't here now. Oh my God, she's really freaking out. Praise's voice, bright with amusement. I caught a glimpse of her on the dock, phone held high, filming. She was smiling. Somebody help me. I gasped, my head going under again. When I surfaced, I saw Dorothy. She stood at the edge of the dock, arms crossed, face carved from stone. Our eyes met. She didn't move. Mama, water rushed into my mouth. I coughed, inhaled more water, felt it burning down my throat into my lungs. My limbs were getting heavy. Each kick weaker than the last. I went under. Darkness surrounded me. I fought toward the light above, but my body wouldn't cooperate. My lungs screamed for air I couldn't give them. I inhaled. Water poured in. The burning intensified, then dulled. The light faded. I went under again. This time, I didn't fight as hard. Exhaustion dragged at me like hands pulling me deeper. Through the murky water, I could see shapes on the dock above, my family, standing perfectly still, watching me die. The third time I went under, I stopped struggling. The water didn't feel cold anymore. It felt like nothing. I felt like nothing. Somewhere far away, I heard splashing. Strong arms wrapped around my chest, yanking me upward. My head broke the surface, but I couldn't breathe, couldn't cough, couldn't do anything. The stranger, later I'd learn his name was Marcus Hayes, a fisherman who'd been on the far shore, dragged me onto the muddy bank. He flipped me onto my back, started compressions. Water erupted from my mouth. He breathed into my lungs. On the dock, my family was scattering, running. I saw Miracle and Nicholas disappear into the darkness. Praise stood frozen, phone still in her hand, eyes wide. Dorothy turned and walked back toward the house. "Stay with me," the stranger was saying. "Come on, stay with me." But I was already gone. The woman they'd pushed into that lake, the one who believed family was everything, who'd sacrificed herself on the altar of blood loyalty, she drowned at Lake Whispering. 8 minutes underwater. By the time the paramedics arrived, she was already dead. I woke up to machines screaming. Tubes down my throat, needles in my arms, electrodes stuck to my chest like mechanical leeches. The fluorescent lights stabbed my eyes. I tried to move, but my body wouldn't respond. Panic flooded through me. I was drowning again, suffocating. "Amara, you're okay. You're in the hospital. I need you to stay calm." A woman's face appeared above me. Dark skin, kind eyes, blue scrubs. Her badge read Blessing Adeyemi, RN. "Don't fight the tube. It's helping you breathe." She held my hand while they extubated me. I coughed up remnants of lake water, my throat raw and burning. "You coded twice," Blessing said quietly. "Your heart stopped. They brought you back both times. You're a miracle." A miracle. I wanted to laugh, but my chest hurt too much. There were no miracles at Lake Whispering. Just murder that looked like negligence. My phone sat on the bedside table, screen cracked but still functional. 47 missed calls. I scrolled through them with shaking hands. Dorothy. Miracle. Praise. Rosemary. Nicholas. Text messages filling the screen like accusations. Dorothy, are you okay? Call me. Miracle, we didn't mean for it to go that far. Please pick up. Praise, I'm so sorry. Please call us back. Nicholas, it was an accident. You know that, right? An accident. They were already building their story, constructing the narrative where I'd slipped, where they tried to help, where it was all a terrible misunderstanding. They were calling not out of love, but fear. Fear of consequences. The social worker came on my third day. A thin woman with gray hair and a clipboard. "I'm here to do a safety assessment. Do you feel safe going home? Do you have family who can care for you?" No. My voice came out stronger than I expected. I don't feel safe. And I don't have family. She studied me carefully. "Your mother has called the nurses' station 6 times. She's asking about your condition. Tell her I died." The words felt final, like a door slamming shut. "Block all their numbers. I don't want them here. I don't want their calls. Tell them I died in that lake." Because I did. That night, alone in my hospital room, I stared at my reflection in the darkened window. Bruises bloomed across my neck and shoulders, purple and black, shaped like fingerprints. My eyes were hollow, ringed with shadows. This face was a stranger's face. The woman looking back at me wasn't the Amara who'd driven to Lake Whispering hoping for reconciliation. "I did die," I whispered to my reflection. Over the next 2 weeks, my body healed. The bruises faded from black to yellow. My lungs cleared. I could walk without getting dizzy, could eat without my stomach rebelling. But something else was happening inside me. Something hardening, crystallizing. The old Amara, generous, forgiving, desperate to be loved, had drowned in that lake. She'd spent 8 years bleeding herself dry for people who'd stood on a dock and watched her die. The new Amara understood something fundamental. Family is a choice, and mine had chosen violence. When Blessing came to remove my 4 on discharge day, she squeezed my hand. "Take care of yourself." I met her eyes. My voice was different now, colder, sharper. "I will." What I didn't say, I'm going to take care of them too. Samuel Onus had the kind of face that made people nervous, angular, assessing, the face of someone who'd spent 20 years with the FBI learning to spot lies. When he walked into the coffee shop where we'd agreed to meet, I knew immediately he was the right choice. Ms. Moses. He sat across from me, didn't offer his hand. Straight to business. I appreciated that. "I need everything," I said. "Bank records, tax returns, business dealings, criminal history. Everything on my mother Dorothy Williams, my brother Miracle Williams, my sister Praise Williams, and my cousin Nicholas Williams." He pulled out a notepad. "What am I looking for?" "Anything illegal. Anything prosecutable." I slid an envelope across the table. "This is half your retainer. You'll get the rest when you deliver." Samuel studied me for a long moment. "This is personal. They tried to kill me." I said it evenly, without emotion. "I want justice." He nodded slowly. "Justice. Not revenge. Is there a difference?" 8 weeks later, Samuel called. "I've got something. You're going to want to see this in person." The file he placed on my dining room table was 3 inches thick. He opened it methodically, section by section, and with each page my jaw tightened. "Your brother Miracle," Samuel began, "has been collecting disability benefits for a supposed back injury while working full-time under the table at Mr. E. Keen's auto shop. That's federal fraud. But it gets better. He's also running a credit card scam. Stolen identities, fake accounts. I've got transaction records going back 2 years." He flipped to another section. "Nicholas. Money laundering through shell LLCs. He's funneling cash from a check fraud ring, forged signatures, stolen checks from elderly victims. The feds would love this." Another section. "Your sister Praise. Tax evasion. She's been claiming your nephew Peter as a dependent, writing off his private school tuition you've been paying. The IRS considers that fraud." The last section was the thickest. "Your mother Dorothy. Where do I start? Mortgage fraud on 2 properties, falsified income documents to secure loans she couldn't afford. Filed for bankruptcy last year claiming she had no assets, but I found accounts totaling over $80,000. Hidden money while crying poor to the courts." Samuel leaned back, watching my face. "This is enough to put all of them away. Multiple felonies each. But I have to ask, what do you want to do with this?" I stared at the file. The truth, documented and undeniable. Years of lies, theft, fraud. They'd stolen from me, from the government, from strangers. They'd built their lives on deception, and when I'd finally said no, they'd tried to erase me. "I want them prosecuted," I said. "No hesitation. All of them. Every charge you can make stick." "That's a lot of lives you're about to destroy." I looked up at him. "They destroyed mine first. They stood on that dock and watched me drown. This isn't revenge, Samuel. This is accountability." He closed the file, pushed it toward me. "Then you'll need to deliver this evidence yourself. The prosecutors will want to hear your story." I placed my hand on the file. It felt heavy. Final. "Good," I said. "I want them to know it was me." Mr. E. Keen's auto shop smelled like motor oil and desperation. I walked through the open bay door in a crisp navy business suit, my heels clicking against concrete stained with years of grease. 3 mechanics looked up from their work. In the back, bent over an engine, was Miracle. He straightened when he heard my heels. Turned. Our eyes met. He froze. Amara. His voice cracked on my name. The wrench in his hand trembled. What are you doing here? I didn't answer him. I walked directly to the small office where Mr. E. Keene sat behind a cluttered desk, reading glasses perched on his nose. He looked up, confused. Can I help you, miss? Mr. E. Keene, my name is Amara Moses. That's my brother. I gestured toward Miracle, who'd followed me, hovering in the doorway. Did you know he's collecting federal disability benefits for a back injury while working here full-time? Mr. E. Keene's confusion deepened. What? I opened my leather portfolio and slid documents across his desk. Bank statements. Benefit payment records. Timesheets from this very shop. That's federal fraud. I thought you should know before the authorities arrive. Mr. E. Keene's face transformed as he read, confusion to comprehension to fury. He stood slowly, his chair scraping against the floor. You're collecting disability? Miracle's face had gone pale. Amara, what the hell? You're fired. Mr. E. Keene's voice was deadly quiet. Get out of my shop. Now. You bitch. Miracle lunged toward me. His hands reached for my throat, the same hands that had pushed me into that lake. But I didn't flinch. I stood perfectly still, watching him come. He never reached me. 2 federal agents stepped through the bay door, badges already out. They must have been waiting outside, timing it perfectly. Miracle Williams. The taller agent's voice cut through the shop. You're under arrest for disability fraud and credit card fraud involving stolen identities. What? No, Miracle tried to run. They caught him in 3 steps. Handcuffs clicked around his wrists with a sound that sang through my chest like music. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Miracle was screaming as they dragged him past me. You did this. You called them. Amara, I'm your brother. I met his eyes. You pushed me into that lake and watched me drown. We stopped being family that night. They loaded him into the back of an unmarked car. I watched from the shop entrance, arms crossed, face impassive. Mr. E. Keene stood beside me, shaking his head. I'm sorry you had to deal with this, he said quietly. I'm not. That evening, my phone rang. Rosemary. I almost didn't answer. But I wanted to hear this. Amara, please. She was sobbing. Bail is $50,000. We don't have that kind of money. Please. For your nephews. They need their father. The same desperate plea. The same manipulation. The same assumption that I existed to solve their problems. But I wasn't that woman anymore. Tell Miracle I said no, I said, and hung up. I poured myself a glass of wine and stood at my apartment window, watching the city lights flicker below. The first domino had fallen. There were still 3 more to go. Dr. Kelly's had the kind office of someone who'd spent decades dealing with wealthy parents. Leather chairs, mahogany desk, diplomas covering one wall. She folded her hands and listened as I laid out the evidence. I've been paying my nephew Peter's tuition for 3 years, I said, sliding the payment records across her desk. My sister Praise has been claiming him as a dependent for tax deductions. That's fraud. I thought the school should know before the IRS comes asking questions. Dr. Kelly studied the documents, her expression carefully neutral. I see. And Peter? Does he know about any of this? Peter's innocent. He's a good kid. I pulled out a second folder. I'd like to establish a scholarship fund in my father's name. Enough to cover Peter's tuition through graduation. But he can't know it's from me. Something softened in her face. You're protecting him. I'm holding his mother accountable. There's a difference. 2 weeks later, Praise called. screaming before I even said hello. The IRS is auditing me. They're saying I owe $30,000 in back taxes and penalties. You did this. You're destroying our family. I let her scream herself hoarse. When she finally stopped, breathing hard, I spoke quietly. You filmed me drowning, Praise. You stood on that dock with your phone out and laughed while I died. We're done. I hung up. The call from Dorothy came on a Wednesday. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Amara. Her voice was tight, controlled. I'm at my lawyer's office. They're saying I committed mortgage fraud. Multiple properties. They're talking about federal charges. You have to help me. 8 years of rage rose in my throat like lake water. I have to help you. I'm your mother. You stood on that dock and watched me drown. The words exploded out of me. You crossed your arms and said it would teach me humility. You spent 8 years bleeding me dry, $400,000, while hiding $80,000 in secret accounts. You filed for bankruptcy and lied to the courts. You're not a victim, Dorothy. You're a criminal. Amara, please. I don't have a mother. I buried her at Lake Whispering. My voice was shaking now, tears streaming down my face. You want help? Call Miracle. Oh wait, he's in jail because of the fraud you all thought you'd get away with. I ended the call, sat on my kitchen floor and sobbed. Not for her. For the mother I'd wanted and never had. Dorothy was indicted 2 days later. Multiple felonies. Trial pending. The meeting with Nicholas's public defender was brief. I provided the evidence Samuel had compiled, bank records, witness statements, and the video Praise had filmed. The video investigators had subpoenaed. The video that showed Nicholas and Miracle pushing me, showed me screaming for help, showed my family watching me drown. This is attempted first-degree murder, the prosecutor said. Premeditated. Malicious. We're pursuing the maximum sentence. Nicholas was arrested that afternoon. 8-year sentence recommended. I drove home in silence. For family members. For prosecutions. Justice was supposed to feel triumphant. Instead, it felt like grief. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Institutional beige walls, fluorescent lights, a judge who looked tired of hearing excuses. Miracle sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit, avoiding my eyes. Praise sat in the gallery, thin and drawn. Nicholas stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. Dorothy's trial was still pending, but she sat in the back row, watching. The judge read the charges. Miracle, 5 years for disability fraud and credit card fraud. Praise, 2 years for tax evasion and accessory to attempted murder. Nicholas, 8 years for attempted first-degree murder and money laundering. Ms. Moses, the judge said, would you like to make a victim impact statement? I stood. My legs were steady. I'd practiced this in front of my bathroom mirror for weeks, but now the words came naturally, like I'd been waiting my whole life to say them. They didn't just try to kill my body that night at Lake Whispering. They spent 8 years killing my spirit. Every time I said yes when I wanted to say no. Every time I gave money I couldn't afford to lose. Every time I sacrificed my own needs to meet their demands. I was drowning long before they pushed me off that dock. My voice didn't waver. I gave them over $400,000. I gave them my time, my energy, my loyalty. And when I finally set a boundary, they tried to murder me. I'm here today because I survived both, the exploitation and the execution. I looked at each of them. I'm here because a stranger dove into that lake when my own blood wouldn't. The judge nodded slowly. When the family's lawyers pleaded for leniency, for mercy, for reduced sentences because of family bonds, she cut them off. You targeted a family member for financial gain and attempted to end her life. These sentences reflect the severity of your crimes. The gavel fell. 1 year later, my firm had expanded to 3 offices. I was speaking at conferences about family trauma and financial abuse, helping others recognize the signs I'd ignored for so long. I was in therapy twice a week, rebuilding the parts of myself I'd abandoned to keep the peace. I was healing. Then Praise showed up at my office. She'd been released early for good behavior, looked older than her years, worn down by consequence. Amara. Her voice was small. I'm sorry. I was wrong about everything. Can we try again? I looked at my sister. There was no anger anymore. No rage. Just clarity. Family is a choice, Praise. You made yours at Lake Whispering. I'm making mine now. Goodbye. She left without arguing. That evening, I stood at my office window, the city glittering below. I held a photograph, my father's funeral, the last time we were all together. All of us young, undamaged. Before the drowning. Before everything. I opened my desk drawer and placed the photo inside. Closed it. The woman who drowned believed family was blood, I said to the empty office. The woman who survived knows family is who shows up when you're drowning, not who pushes you in. I turned back to the window. My reflection stared back, stronger, harder, free. The woman who crawled out of Lake Whispering had finally learned to breathe.